Well, good morning, and very good morning to you. We're lacking a bit of light. I'm going to do something about that immediately, if not sooner. Oh dear, dear, dear. We're putting the seat place for half. Shannon, could we get our little lamp, do you think? Morning, Sally. Now, I'm sorry to abandon you just for a moment or two, but we've got the light coming, and the gorgeous Shannon, who's going to join the broadcast team soon. So take a good look at her, because she's not only beautiful, but she's bubbly and she's buoyant. And if you come into the White Hart this morning, you will see Shannon and Sally both there, both beautiful, both gorgeous smiles, and very welcoming. This is the place to come in the morning, believe me. Isn't that right?
So true.
Absolutely. So there's Shannon. Enjoy. You'll see more of her, and we're going to see her son too. Bright little boy. Okay, there we go. There's we can remove this, and we can get on with some papers. We will, in a very short period of time, be inviting Melissa Conti from New York into the studio, and we'll find out what's going on in America, how they're feeling about various things, and we don't seem to be getting a signal on that. Never mind. Oh, I don't know. It's all these things are a complete and utter mystery to me, and so we'll not worry about it for a minute or two. But who knows what may have gone wrong or right or whatever. So we're just slightly in the dim, but then again, that is suitable for where we are, in a very, very historic hotel, the White Hart Hotel, right smack dab in the center of Lewis. And a wonderful place to come to. Very historic, bed and breakfast, a nice bar, nice people, and a nice watering hole to stop by. So please do join us. And if you do come in, there is a new type of television that comes from this premises. Mirador Television, which broadcasts from the bar before it actually opens. And believe me, we don't have privileges in that direction. And you can come in and you can express your viewpoint. You can sit down and you can go on the air and you can say, a plague on all these people, or well done the NHS, or whatever it is that you want to say. And we've also made the offer to the businesses on the high street. We are fully supportive of the high street, and we believe that it could bounce back with a concerted effort, and we want to be part of that effort. So we have offered to any and every business on the high street, on Lewis High Street, from the Bottleneck, from St Anne's actually, on down to the foot of Chapel Hill in Cliff. Any business on the high street can come and tell us who they are, what they've got for sale. For I say 15 minutes. They can take 10 or they can take 20. We don't really mind, because all these places are places of interest, places we should know about, and it's up to them to come and tell people, come and buy what we have to buy, come and take the services that we have to offer, come and taste the food that is on trial. All those things, and we have that offer out to the local community, and I hope that we'll see a few people. It's the old adage, if you don't help yourself, nobody's going to help you. So we are away on a hack this morning. We're feeling buoyant, we're feeling good. The weather is cooler than of late. It's 23 centigrade. and there's a slight breeze still, and it's a bit overcast, and possibly going to stay that way. But this is going to be the coolest day for some time. The heat starts to rise again tomorrow. So if you like it cool, get out there and be cool today, because tomorrow it's going to start to heat up again. And let's see exactly where we are in terms of what we're going to do this morning. First of all, we're going to go through the newspapers, and then I'm going to try and experiment, because I've got to try and contact an old colleague of mine in Kosovo, in Pristina. You've never heard of Kosovo? You've never heard of Pristina? Well, there was a war there 20 years ago. And Pristina is the capital city of Kosovo, and Kosovo won its independence. It is a nation now. And we don't hear a great deal about it, and it would be nice to know how it's making out. So we're going to try and link up with a gentleman called Behar Zogyani, who is a mover and a shaker as far as Kosovo is concerned. He's a journalist. He also represents one of the embassies there, the Czech embassy, I think. And all in all, is a good sounding board if we can get hold of him. And if not, most certainly lurking in the alleyways of New York is Melissa Conti. And at about, about another 20 minutes, we will try and locate Melissa and have a chat and see what's going on there. So plenty to keep us busy today. Friday, the 22nd of July, in the year 2022. Not an easy year for anybody. Not an easy year indeed. And it continues to go that way. And we are expecting in the United Kingdom a new prime minister by the beginning of September, after due process of elimination, voting, and so on. The ordinary person in the street does not get a vote on this occasion. It is members of the Conservative Party plus MPs who vote to establish who will be our next prime minister. And the front runners now, or the two runners that are left, one is Rishi Sunak, our former Chancellor of the Exchequer, and Liz Truss, who I think was Foreign Secretary. And they have already crossed swords, but the choice is quite simple. They have laid out their swords. You lay out your swords. They've laid out their ways of trying to handle the crisis of confidence in our community and also on our economy. Sunak says you ain't going to get taxes lowered until we have beaten inflation. Inflation running at 9-point-something% in some parts of the country, 10% and above. Liz Truss says, no, they've got it all wrong. They're set in old thinking in the Treasury way, and that is Sunak's position. And basically, with some new thinking, we can lower taxes almost immediately. So there's the choice, and it's a pretty clear-cut choice. And we'll see what the Conservative Party itself, because they are in charge of the vote, and they are the only people that can vote. The rest of us have to sit on the sidelines and watch. So that's the way it is looking that way. So let's see what the newspapers have. Now, the newspapers, in the main, have abandoned this race, because I suppose it's now up to the candidates to try and persuade various people as to what they should do and where they should place their vote. So the newspaper headlines now are: the BBC let Diana down. The Daily Express, the BBC, we let Diana down. And the Express leads the way of a number of papers that say the BBC are paying damages to Tiggy Leg Burke, a former nanny to Prince William and Harry. The Daily Express reports that the damages relate to false claims that Miss Leg Burke had an affair with Prince Charles and an abortion. A statement read out in court said it was likely that these false and malicious allegations were as a result and in the context of the BBC Panorama's efforts to procure an exclusive interview with Princess Diana, Princess of Wales, in 1995. Now, because we deal a fair amount in local history here, I should tell you as a little side issue that to eat humble pie, which means to say you're sorry and to be contrite, is a made-up phrase. The real humble pie wasn't humble pie at all; it was umble pie, and umble were the innards of the deer. The venison went to the castle. The umble, that is the liver, the heart, the kidneys, all the innards went to the poor people who made a pie out of them. And it was known as an umble pie. And you ate umble pie, meaning that you were lower down the social ladder. But it has come to mean, of course, to eat humble pie is to be, oh dear, dear, dear me, I am so sorry. And the BBC is obviously coming out in spades to eat humble pie, not umble pie. And the Metro says, the BBC, we let Diana down. The Metro says the damages will be substantial and quotes the BBC Director General, Tim Davie, saying, we let Princess Diana, the royal family, and our audiences down. Now, for the Director General to come out and say that right across the board, the corporation let them down is, I mean, in some ways it's refreshing that it's done that, because it never, ever does accept, particularly internally, that it makes a mistake. So let's not knock it for being upfront about this, but nonetheless, they got it wrong and they tried to cover it up for so many years, and there was so much harm done as a result of Martin Bashir's documentary, which turned out to be a bunch of old cobblers. But the Mirror goes further than that. It says we let the princess down, but the cops must now charge the culprits. And what it's saying is that those people involved in the making of this business, of this documentary should be charged and taken to court. Will that happen? Who knows? But the Mirror is calling for it. Earl Spencer has called on the police to act over the interview. The Daily Mirror says, the paper quotes Earl Spencer saying, it's amazing no criminal charges have been leveled at the culprits so far. Well, there we are. I just want to make sure that we've got all that internet access in place. We still haven't resolved the issue. We're working hard on it, and I keep on saying that, but it's much more complex than I thought in making sure you get a clear picture. I'm not sure that you are at the moment, but anyway, we'll keep on with our ranting and our raving. And the Daily Star is a royal shame. The BBC, we let Diana down. Plus, Prince Charles, Prince William, the whiny bloke, and even the bloody nanny. The Daily Star says the BBC had to say sorry to pretty much the entire royal family for telling porcupines. The Daily Telegraph, no tax cuts until late next year. It does not go with the scandal, if you like, of the BBC. It concentrates on the leadership battle, and it's saying that Sunak says no cuts until next year. He's sticking by his guns. And you've got to admire him as a politician for sticking by his guns when it appears that he's not very popular for doing so. Some other papers lead from the Conservative Party leadership race, reporting that Chancellor Rishi Sunak has said he fears reducing taxes before next year would further fuel inflation, and accused leadership rival Liz Truss of misleading the public on the issue by promising immediate cuts. Well, she has come back and said Rishi is tarred with an old philosophy, that there is reform in the air when it comes to the economy, and that reform would allow tax cuts. But Truss and Sunak trade blows over tax pledges, says the Times. Foreign Secretary Liz Truss has accused Mr. Sunak of peddling a failed economic policy that would lead to a recession and make it difficult for the Conservatives to win the next election. Oh, that's what it's all about. Winning the next election, of course it is. It's nothing to do with the fact that some of us are going to suffer. The Times reports, a paper quotes Ms. Truss, claiming that the Treasury suffers from having an economic orthodoxy and being resistant to any sort of change. Well. The Guardian, Sunak goes on the attack over tax as Truss takes the poll lead. Well, apparently in the voting stakes, the polls say that Liz Truss is nudging ahead of Sunak, but he is sticking to his guns, and it will be interesting to see how the various MPs and the members, card-carrying members of the Conservative Party, react to what each of the candidates say. The Guardian says Mr. Sunak's comments represent his strongest attack yet on Ms. Truss's economic policies. The paper also reports on new analysis showing that the oil and gas industry has delivered £2.3 billion a day in profits for the last 50 years. It quotes the author of the study, Professor Avel Vertrugen, saying the sum has been enough for fossil fuel companies to buy every politician, every system, in order to delay action on climate change. Wow, that's good, strong stuff. It's not so much that there is military action on climate change. We all know that occurs. What this professor is saying is there have been backhanders that have made sure that it didn't change. And that's powerful stuff. That is really powerful stuff. It puts the ice cake that got Boris into trouble into perspective. It was just an ice cake. The Eye, Mordaunt's Revenge, a new plot to stop Truss. Supporters of Trade Minister Penny Mordaunt, who was knocked out of the Tory leadership race in the final round of voting among MPs, are orchestrating a Stop Liz Truss campaign. The paper says Ms. Truss may also face challenges from chairs of some local Conservative associations, although polls show she maintains a strong lead among party members. Well, there you go. That's the Financial Times. The ECB vows to avert debt crisis as it lifts rates for the first time since 2011. What 2011 is? That's 12 years since the European Central Bank, which is now under the famous, or should we say, infamous Mrs. Lagarde, Christine Lagarde, is joining other central banks in raising interest rates to try and stem inflation. So it's not just us. The Americas are doing the same thing, and now Europe has come to the realization that it must take an unpopular step. The FT leads with that decision by the European Central Bank, to raise interest rates by 0.5 percentage point. That's quite a bit, by the way. The first rise for more than a decade, and more than twice the increase mooted by the bank even last month. The paper quotes Christine Lagarde, president of the bank, saying it was time to deliver after Eurozone inflation hit a record high of 6% in the year to June. The Daily Mail, Channel migrants landed in Britain with guns. It leaves everything alone to go on the fact that it is now apparently an established fact that some people who came across in the little rubber boats stepped ashore on the shingle beaches of Britain and merrily walked in. It did so carrying a whole bundle of arms and without anybody checking and without anybody stopping them. And what it says is we're really unleashing some terrorists or people who would use arms to get their own way and to break our laws, and nobody dared stop them. David Neal, the Chief Inspector of Borders and Immigration, says that it exposed an alarming litany of failures. Oh, dearie me. How usual do we find this business? And the Sun, Jade's son joins Enders. Oh, well, let's see, who was she? The Big Brother star, Jade Goody. Oh, I remember Jade Goody, mainly because of the name. He's landed a role in EastEnders, and the Sun has decided that that's front page news. He's 19, he'll join the cast, and he says he's loving every minute of the process so far. But we all wanted to know that, didn't we? Oh, yes, we did. Right. Well, that's the front pages. The back pages, we have delivered so much good news the last little while. Back to 6 pages of upper gibberish and rubbish about football. It is the sacred cow. You know, all you've got to do is to kick a sacred cow in the backside and the governments come tumbling down. It's the same with football. Try criticizing it and you're in trouble, even though it turns out scandal after scandal after scandal and expects us to mouth it, hop it down. Huh. Hoochie-doo-doo-doo-doo. There's a little bit of good news, though, on our mile champion or 1500 meters champion. We're back in the highlights in the forefront of middle distance running, which was always our great strength. Through from Roger Bannister, Chris Chataway, down to Sebastian Coe, and a couple of other very well-known people. So we are back there after a hiatus. Oh, it's all happening, isn't it, in the papers this morning? It is now 8:55, and what we are going to do is to do what we normally do. Is we're going to take just a little breather, and go down to our. Okay, let's see if we can take our foot off the pedal and just relax for a minute or two with whatever we've got in our little bag of tricks this morning. And one of the things that we've is played a couple of times because people aren't aware really of where Lewis is or what it's about. So here is our bit on Like Lewis. He said, I just love that dirty laugh. It's lovely, and that's from a distorted form of Sir January, the knight that is our logo, but also stands proud in Lewes Priory, in the park at Lewes Priory, where the first flames of English democracy were fanned in 1264 to become the so-called democracy that we know today. But nonetheless, it's a far cry from the divine right of kings. And that's where it all started. Ha 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 ha. An evil laugh. An evil laugh indeed. Now, we have got out our feelers, or a lovely Melissa Conti to actually come on board, although she normally doesn't do it until about 10 o'clock or so, because even then it's 4 o'clock in New York. And she piles out of bed, God bless her, to join us and let us know what's going on. Same as Suzanne Mouchot does on a Monday. And now, if you haven't had the pleasure of watching these ladies or even talking to them before, join us on a Monday for Suzanne Mouchot and join us on a Friday for Melissa Conti. Now, in between, we have been building a solid team with other interesting personalities to talk to you and to chat to you. And we've got a whole host lined up. We've got Jane Watkins, who hails from Hastings and keeps an eye on the western or the eastern part of the county for us, who at the moment is actually in Gordonston in Scotland, the place where Prince Charles was educated, and she's teaching at a summer school there. And interesting stuff it is too, particularly what they get for breakfast, haggis. Oh, we have Shannon coming on board, who is part of the hotel, but is very interested in plants, and she got a delightful son. He's only about 8, but he's very articulate. So over the summer months, you can expect to see them from time to time and give us a piece of advice. And on top of that, we have some new programs from Liza Page, who is pretty hard-hitting, but her interviews are very interesting. Not only do they go back to some old favorites from Hollywood, but also to members who have only just passed away, who were members of the Holocaust. So a good sprinkling of stuff there. And all in all, a rather delicious array of ladies, and we'll add more on as we find them. Building and boosting Mirador's team on the ground from the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, and that's Lewes, UK, not Lewes, Delaware. Although we are on a web page in Lewes, Delaware, and I hope that that may result in us soon having a correspondent in Lewes, Delaware. And in fact, what we can do is and spread our wings in the United States. Good morning.
Morning.
As a gentleman just came in, is looking very efficient and official. They've been taking all sorts of measurements of this hotel, and they've been very busy, but they've always been very, very pleasant. All these chaps come in. They come in at this hour of the morning. What is it? 9:07. Yeah, they're right on the job very quickly, like we are, and. Whatever it is that they're doing, it can only bode well for the hotel, which is a great hotel. It's a really great hotel. Right in the center of Lewes, for those people who don't live here, and those people that do, tend to walk past it a wee bit because of the new coffee shops and so on and so forth. But it's a delightful place to come in. The front desk staff are terrific. and you can settle down with a nice pot of coffee, and you can chat across the room, particularly in the lounge, which was the old farmer's bar, and find all sorts of people who are of interest. We actually kidnapped them out of the hallway here to come in on television, and we've had some interesting people from the Netherlands, from New York, from New Zealand, you name it, and it's a wonderful, wonderful hotel. So do drop by. We're here waiting for you, and love to see you, and love to have a chat to you. And if you're daring enough, come on television and tell us what it's all about. Now, let's go back to the headlines, shall we? Because all that stemmed from the fact that guns are coming ashore on some of these little dinghies that are arriving from the continent. We went on to Jade's son, didn't we? As if that's going to be earth-shattering. All right, where are we now? We are at 9 minutes past 9 o'clock. Gosh, how time flies when you're having fun. Let's see what else we've got to share this morning, because that was what Lewis was all about. And I'll tell you what, I love the little one about the Sackville Ghosts. It's not very long, and and Mickleham Priory is not very far from Lewis. So let's have a little peek at that.
Mickleham Priory is near Lewis. It was a former Augustine 13th century monastery. The main building has been preserved, but the church was pulled down by Henry VIII. The monks there had a reputation for naughtiness. Ghostly figures of monks are often seen walking the grounds. Stories of orgies and chasing the girls in the local village were legion. The priory became a private residence. One of its occupants was Sir Thomas Sackville, who lived there in the late 1500s. He was, by all accounts, a nasty bit of work. His ghost is said to bully the other spirits, as well as unsuspecting mortals. It must be true, I felt him kick me.
Now, that was the polite version, because what that Sackville Ghost does is actually pinches bottoms. And I have to say that on one of my visits there, I felt my bottom pinched. And I looked around thinking, oh my goodness me, there is some lady who fancies me, and there was nobody within yards and yards and yards of me. So first of all, my romantic inclinations were dashed. But secondly, it must have been the Sackville Ghost, because there was nobody else anywhere near. So if you like your bottom pinched, go to Mickleham Priory. If you don't like your bottom pinched, but you really want to feel a sense of history, because that priory has got quite a sense of history. The monks were very naughty monks in their day, and they chased the local villagers, the maidens in the local villages. And there was a pub at the driveway to the priory for the longest time, where a lot of the friars actually spent their time. So, and from time to time, Rome would send little investigative teams to go and take a look, and they would come back and say, "Oh, they are naughty," and then nothing happened. So it was very much Carmina Burana, very much singing of songs, ale songs, and sitting around drinking and having lots of fun, and particularly at the expense of the local maidens. Ooh, and now a bottom pinching ghost. Well worth the visit, and we really, in many ways, like to keep you up to date with some of the things that are around, and it is part of our remit, and we've got some of this is slightly out of date, but it doesn't matter, and we show you some things that from the past. Let us see. This is program 2. On in 09, the 25th of the 9th, 25th of September 2018, before lockdown. So let's see what we were saying back then, shall we? I have no idea what's in this. So I, like you, are full of wonder and awe, and hope there's nothing naughty, like the Sackville ghost.
let's have a little chunter about the financial community, shall we? We've had a go at the NHS, we've had a go at the council, and since they're getting into the ring with me on Wednesday, I better give them a chance to limber up. I'm in fine fighting fettle. No, I'm not, because I don't know a bit about how to fight councils, or for that matter, as a cub reporter, I had to cover the courts, of course, but not for a long time, and I've forgotten more or less what happens. Talking to some of my pals who are judges and so on and so forth, they're just so highly amused that this is happening that they can't give any sensible advice. So heaven only knows what's going to happen in Brighton on Wednesday. So we better give it a rest, I think, and let's take a pot shot at the financial community, because while I understand that in a Western economy that funding, cash, economics have to drive our lives, what I don't understand is why we pay lip service to small business, why we pay lip service to trying to get youngsters to become entrepreneurs when they leave school rather than go to university, why we're trying to start a new apprenticeship scheme for youngsters rather than sending them to university, why in fact we actually penalise students by £9,000 by sending them to university. The whole thing seems crazy to me, when in fact the big institutions don't understand that if you become an entrepreneur, if you become freelance, if you actually use your talents and your skills to make a living, is it doesn't fit into their schedule. They have these damn things called direct debits. A direct debit is all well and good, except it has a finite time that it ends. So if on the 14th of something you have a direct debit for, say, £30 or £40, and if you don't have the money in by 2:30 in that afternoon, and it comes in at 3:30, or it comes in at 4 o'clock, or at 5:30 just before the bank closes, so it's perfectly legitimately in your account on that day, it still gets dinged. Ding, 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 ding. Why are we expected to be specific about paying? Why can't we have some sort of expandable month? As long as you actually pay within the month, then it's perfectly okay. Or even make an arrangement to pay a chunk at a time rather than a certain amount on a certain day. Why, you say that all sounds terribly unreasonable. Well, yes, it does, if in fact what you do is you get a paycheck on a Friday. Or you get a paycheck at the end of the month, or you get a paycheck in the middle of the week, middle of the month, every 2 weeks, or whatever. It's perfectly reasonable, those systems, but we're trying to encourage people to become entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs don't get paid like that. They sometimes have to wait quite a long time. They don't get it at the end of every month. Sure, quite often being an entrepreneur, being freelance, means that you make more than the bloke who is actually making a salary. But you don't get it very regularly. It comes and it goes up and it goes down. And there is no understanding of that from banks. You used to be able to go and see the bank manager, and he'd say, I'll give you a little extension of a couple of days or so. But we don't have bank managers that we can see just like that anymore. They're computers. I went to see, not I may say for anything as serious as non-payment of something, but I went to see my bank manager today, or I went into the bank to see if I could see somebody, and what was today? It was Monday, and I was able to get an appointment by Friday. Now that was partly because I'm tied up on Monday. No, I'm tied up on Tuesday. Yes, tomorrow. And I'm tied up on Wednesday, most certainly am, at the magistrates' court. And on Thursday, I had another appointment, which is money to me. Appointments are money. That's how I get money in, by working odd days. So it was Friday before I can see my bank manager. I mean, now, it's okay. It didn't mean much today. But if I wanted to see him about a little extension because I've got a direct debit coming in tomorrow, oh gosh, if you don't do it by computer, you've had it. And there are lots of people who are in the business of being freelance, in the business of being small businessmen, in the business of not getting their cash in regularly, who still have to deal with the direct debit and the online situation in terms of banking. You know, some of us, I shouldn't say some of us, I do my banking online, and it's a very easy way to do it until you had to snag. And then it's not easy at all, because the computer doesn't care. It sends out the letter, and it dings you, and it sends out the amount, and it's all very well, but there is no human being to say, oh no, that was a mistake, let's reverse it. There is eventually, but I don't notice that after you've been charged 12 quid, that the bank is terribly ready, if they get it wrong, to put any sort of compensation on with a percentage, the way that they do very readily collect the 12 quid off you. Well, I'm sorry, it just isn't good enough. And if we're going to encourage good small businesses, if we're going to encourage the high street to stay the high street, if we're going to encourage entrepreneurs, if we're going to encourage apprenticeships, then what we've got to do, and if we're going to charge these extortionate fees to students, then what we've got to do is to make the system, the financial system, suit that sort of life and not rabbit on about, oh, this is a way of life, you should really do this, let's be a nation of entrepreneurs and so on. Oh, by the way, the banks aren't going to play ball. No, let's do something about it. Good rant today. I enjoyed that. Tim Flip. Bye.
Well, we had a slight disaster there while you were looking at some of those things from the past, but many pertinent to the present. And I hope you enjoyed seeing what we reflected in 2018 before lockdown. The disaster was that a cup slipped, hit the coffee pot. The coffee pot hit the monitor fell to the floor, followed by the coffee pot, and all hell broke loose. And here I was groping for everything that I possibly could to try and stabilize the situation. I think I may have done that now, but it's complete and utter chaos. Complete and utter chaos, the sort of which only I can be the instigator and only Mirador Television can broadcast. So there. Let's actually let's just look at a couple of updates on news. Now, a critical incident at Dover as holidaymakers queue for up to 4 hours for border control. And the Port of Dover boss, Doug Bannister, has declared a critical incident with staffing at the French border control branded woefully inadequate. And as a consequence, there is tons and tons and tons of traffic all waiting to get away. And it is not, if you're in that queue, very frustrating. I mean, who wants half their holiday? 4 hours. That is to get through border control. That's before you get on board either a ferry or the Channel Tunnel. And then you've got another journey before you actually get off at the other end. And getting off, I suppose, with all those that vehicle is no fun either. I think we're better off at home, frankly. In politics, Mordaunt's revenge inside the orchestrated campaign to stop Liz Truss winning the keys to number 10. So it's really getting down to the naughty naughties, the nitty gritty and the bitty bitty. Although that was reflected in at least one of the headlines or the front pages of the newspapers this morning. Going abroad for a moment, the former US President Trump is accused of ignoring pleas from aides and families to call off a mob that stormed the Capitol and of pouring gasoline on the fire. Those details are now coming out from the hearings in the Capitol into the riots just at the end of the Trump presidency, where he refused to accept defeat and hung on to the fact that he was president of the United States. That's coming out, and the headline is security guards tearful of goodbyes to families. They thought that they weren't going to get out alive. And I must confess, if there is one thing that I would hate, it's facing a mob because there is no control. Mobs do things which normal people wouldn't do because they have this security of doing things in a group. Nobody is really responsible. So facing a mob is not the most exciting experience in the world. There is a headline here is a chap called Michael Day is questioning Liz Truss, who wants to spend more on arms. He says it's all very well to juggle the figures and play around with the numbers, but you've got to justify, if you want more arms spending, you've got to justify where the money is coming from. In the news, it said the true impact of the UK's hottest day ever, the impact of deaths and hospitalizations, will not be known for weeks. In other words, the stats have got to catch up with the facts. So whether in fact it was a fatal day, whether it had huge damaging effects on the economy and so on, will take several weeks for us to find out. I would have thought the much vaunted computers that everybody says will work wonders for them would have sorted it out faster than that. I've almost got a view of Dickensian characters with a feather pen behind their ears, trying to figure out on pen and paper just what the damage was. Surely the computers, I mean, after all, we're told and we're ruled and we're governed by computers. The computers can bloody well do it. If they're that great, why aren't they? That was my reaction. It is one comment in a newspaper, not attributed, is we need to stop the swivel-eyed loonies and how the bitter Tory war to be Prime Minister is unfolding. In other words, they are so obsessed with this leadership challenge. They all want to get there. They all want their man in. It is termed swivel-eyed loonies. And I have a tendency to agree with that. I think, to be quite honest with you, and it's not just the Tories, everybody in Westminster has lost the faith of the country. And if they are going to go and be effective leaders, they've got to win that faith back. How do they do that? Well, I would suggest that they actually start they start looking at what is affecting the man in the street, instead of broad brushstrokes which mean nothing and which they can use in their ability to debate extremely well. I've always said, as a journalist, is I hated interviewing politicians because the one thing they are very good at is debating. They are taught from a very young age how to debate. So they can make red seem blue, black seem purple, you name it. They can change the meaning of anything just by their use of words. And if you're a dead honest, simple hack like me, they could buffalo you into not asking the right questions or not asking any questions at all. That's all they're good at. And now they're eating their Waterloo because there are lots of things to be addressed. And one of the things that they've got to do is to re-establish trust and confidence in their group as leaders of our society, which they've lost totally lost. I'm always reminded, and forgive me because people who know me say, God, Keith, bringing out that again, is the movie Brewster's Millions, in which a gentleman is left millions and millions, but to get even more millions and millions, he has to spend the millions he's been left. And so he decides he'll waste a lot of money on an election campaign. And his slogan is about the other candidates is none of the above. Don't vote for any of the above. Please vote for me. Just don't vote for any of the above. And of course, he gets a landslide victory and makes even more money when he's actually trying to spend it and lose it. It seems to me it's a bit like that. Brewster's Millions is none of the above. There is none of the above that inspires me with confidence. And when I talk, as I do, to a lot of people in a day, I find that is more and more becoming a feeling amongst eminently sensible people, is that they've lost the plot, totally lost the plot. And that while they're playing around with their silly political game, is the country is going to hell. Now, we've got activists who, I suppose that in their heart of hearts, most activists think that they're doing the right thing by bringing society to a standstill. We've got activists who have been targeting the M4 and the M5, stopping traffic. Now, I don't know who they think that does good to. If it's to bring to attention things, it's hardly the way, because it's using the very people that they say they're representing. and that's a bit naughty. That is a bit naughty indeed. And we demonstrating on the M4 and the M5 is sorry, you haven't got my sympathy at all. Right, there's the morning briefing. The Tory contest ramps up a notch, and how Mordaunt might exact revenge. Oh, no fury. There is no fury, or hell hath no fury, like a woman scorned. And Miss Mordaunt, or Mrs. Mordaunt, is now she's been defeated, is letting go. Because she came up on the outside and looked the favourite for a little while. And then she lost out to Liz Truss. And she is blaming Miss Truss or Mrs. Truss or whatever for her defeat. And she ain't taking it lying down any more than Boris is, but he's doing it in his superbly cool character way. Is at Prime Minister's Question Time really saying, that right, you lot, you got rid of me, now you've got the problems, what are you going to do about it? And I don't see much at the moment except a lot of infighting. And he sort of always hinted and sort of said, well, you know, you just might find me back, chaps. Stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. Now, I think that the world, Russia is about to run out of steam in Ukraine and may have to pause, says MI6 chief. Well, that's the first mention that I've had of the war in Ukraine. And if in fact Russia is about to run out of steam, to me, what it'll do is it'll create a vacuum. And vacuums are dangerous things because all sorts of people jump in. And a comment on the politics. Tory members are between a rock and a hard place as they chew between Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. There is some suggestion that the Conservative Party members will delay voting until they hear more policies from the two contenders to replace Johnson as Prime Minister. In other words, they're fed up of the rhetoric, and we will do this and we will do that, and you didn't do this and you didn't do that. But is the Conservative leadership contest? What are hustings? Meaning of the term explained in a full-time table of Conservative leadership. Okay, we're getting into the feature thing now. Hang on, there's one here that might be worthwhile. Full-time table, the Tory leadership. When does the leadership vote start? Let's see if we can find that. Probably not. What they're doing is you're asking you to sign up now to get that info. And I won't do it. So it's a pity because that would have been useful. The Tories fear dogfight, Truss versus Sunak. The leadership battle will destroy the hopes of party unity. Well, I'm not a bit surprised that it's not. Schools across the UK continue to announce closures ahead of predicted 40-degree weather. Well, that's really a day old. So we're getting into news that is not headline news and is not news of the moment. Right, you are. Let's see if 9:48. Hopefully, we'll actually see our good friend Melissa Conti in a little while. It's all difficult to try to find out that they're just some of these things. They now use icons. I mean, for God's sake, when is it all going to end? All this nonsense. It is. You can't find out anything anymore. all I wanted to do was to find out whether, in fact, our emails had found their targets, because there has been some odd things going on with the social media recently, and I'm not at all sure that I trust even that anymore. It's difficult to determine what's what anymore. Never mind. We're only getting ourselves our knickers into a twist over something that we are accusing the politicians of doing. So we will trust in God and in the social media that our emails have got through, and that we will start to see Melissa, who, after all, it is still only 4 o'clock in New York. But also, we've invited, and it will come as a complete surprise to him. So it may well be that he's looking to see whether it's a scam, but an invitation to a gentleman called Behar Zogyani, who is the most influential man, a journalist and a mover and shaker in Kosovo, because things go out of the news. And I spent a lot of time in Kosovo when it was forging itself into a candidate for EU membership, and it was also forging itself into a country as opposed to a satellite of the Serb Republic. And it is an independent country now. There are 1 or 2 countries in the world that don't recognize it, but generally speaking, it is recognized. So what's happened to it in the years since I was there? Has it continued to struggle from strife to strife? Is it relishing democracy? Has it thrown it out of the window? What is happening? So I hope that if I can't get him today, that I'll try and get him next week to chat about the realities of life after so much money is spent on trying to bring some countries back into the democratic sphere. And it is an uphill battle, believe me, because there are many influences in any society that don't want that. They've got used to having concentrated power, and that power being in their hands. But nonetheless, there is a big movement, global movement, with billions of dollars poured into it to try and make sure that everything is as it should be. All right, where are we? 9:51. It's heading towards, if it hasn't actually reached 23, 24 degrees today. The high street is now bathed in sunlight, so the cloud covering has gone, and the gentle breeze. I don't have any measurement of the gentle breeze. I can't see a tree or anything that's telling me how the gentle breeze is being gentle or not. All I know is that in the forecast 2 days this week, it said gentle breeze, and it blew my hat off. And at my age, racing down the street, chasing my hat, brings out cheers from some of the younger people, all of whom watched the hat roll by. Little buggers. But then again, you can't get angry with them for that, can you? Let's see what we've got kicking around. This is a lovely Friday, going gently into the right. Okay, I think we might gently into the end of the week, and I am not quite sure what. Oh, right. That's not it. What did we think was important a Monday ago? I don't know. Here's one. Here's one a little bit. Yesterday, our correspondent from Hastings was on, although she's in Gordonston. But at the end of last year, she put in a little bit about what to do, what to find bits and pieces at home and make things with them. And I've got one here called Ottoman, and I've got a feeling that that's what it's all about. So let's see. TikTok is it's having a trouble starting this one. So we'll have one more go and see whether we can get it. But it probably not. It's a pity because Jane is very clever, and she takes bits and pieces and she puts them together. So we're having another go just to see whether we can get it done. But it's it's doing that one. Let's see if we can do some other things. I noticed there one that is trains and trains of music. Let's have a look, because we did do a series a while ago with model trains and looking at various parts of the world through their model trains, their actual trains, and through a little bit of tourist backup. Let's take a look. Well, now, it ended. It ended without telling me. That's very naughty of it. So I hope you enjoyed those trains. They didn't go quite as long as I thought. So we're... that is a pity, because we did have some much longer bits and pieces on model trains, and we brought them in from all over the world. And it's amazing what, even behind the Iron Curtain at the time, that people did in terms of model railways and how it reflected the life of that country. If only. What I've got to do, is I don't want to do that. We'll see what else we might have to keep you amused until such time as we get our lovely Melissa in on. I've got something here called the end of the year 2020, and let's see if that gives us any relief, shall we? Right, there we go.
Next
Snippet.
up, bottled poetry. All about wine tasting, and some information. For the next episode of Catlin's Corner, the lovely Stephen has another issue he wants to discuss.
Welcome to Mirador.
Give us back our town.
beer, wine.
So, thank you for joining.
Hey, Ellie, come on, give us a kiss. Come on.
Do admire the hanging gardens of Babylon on the way. They can't even cut that back properly.
Hello. At last I've caught you asleep.
You did hold up a Bible upside down, but you held it up.
Hey there.
Hello, my name is Leslie Hills and I paint portraits. They're sold for cancer research, and this Christmas Mirador Television are putting on a competition just for fun, and we'd like people to send in a self-portrait and also a photograph of themselves as well.
Are we done then fire or not? Yes.
Are you working?
You're taking a picture, are you filming?
I'm filming.
Oh, no.
You're gonna have to work
Sitting
now.
there going,
Well, good morning. It's Keith Hayes at Priory Park in Lewis, standing or sitting by Jenry, our mascot.
Good morning.
Breaking news, November 1967. Carl Stokes elected mayor of the city of Cleveland, Ohio. The first black American man of color to be elected the mayor of a major American city.
Hi, welcome to Mirador Television. My name is Mark Ayton, and I'm outside the offices of Stratton Parker in Lewis. Adrian Passingham, the partner there, is going to talk to us now about the property market in 2020. Over to you, Adrian.
I'm Adrian Passingham. I've been an estate agent for 38 years, predominantly in Sussex. Property's been a passion, always has been. My father was an estate agent before me, which I suppose has probably led me into it.
Can we tuck in?
Yeah,
What one do you want us to?
If you start with the one on your right.
On our right.
this one.
This one, yeah.
It's looks good.
Well, it
But
doesn't
you
look
see,
too
this
bad.
one doesn't look as appetising.
Oh,
So I'd almost want to go for that one first to get it over and done with.
See, this one looks more homemade to me.
Oh, okay.
Actually, because that's the sort of design I would make. We've made
Yes,
those
that's
before.
true.
Next up, Stephen Catlin, who has a very interesting announcement to make this week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this brand new program where we're going to be talking about all things Strictly Come Dancing.
upsurge in community spirit, because I do think that the pandemic has brought out the very best in people. So, you know, it's been a terrible experience, but I think it has had a silver lining in the sense that people are looking after their neighbours. They are running food banks. They are doing their very best for each other.
Well, that was a funny story too, but you know, Lewis's economy right now is largely a retirement-based community. We're about 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours and a half from Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Washington. So we draw from those areas primarily for retirement.
So Sussex has got itself a new duke. Apparently, the title was offered to Harry as a carrot, inducing him to name the date that he would get married.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Musho, and I'm in New York City, and I'm standing in front of the fantastic Seagram building just right on Park Avenue on this really beautiful day. The architects for this building were Mies van der Rohe and also Philip Johnson, and the structural engineer was Severed Associates.
Gonna do it in a smart car.
From just a little bit of shopping in town and my little walk through the bits of parkland around and about just to give my legs a stretch. Interestingly enough, the shops are still evolving their methods, so they've changed the way we come in and out, so it's even better.
Everybody, Melissa Conti-Winton here, and I am in Tarrytown, New York, right across the street from where I live. There is a bridge, and they are just about to open the walk path, and I'm so excited because we've been waiting for such a long time. The bridge is named after our former governor, Mario Cuomo, and his son, Andrew Cuomo, is about to cut the ribbon to allow us to go across the bridge.
Well, there you go. We went all mouth and trousers, as you can see. We actually produced some pretty good programs. We plan to now that we're back really in operation. We really got over the pandemic in April, most people took until March or April anyway. And we're rebuilding. And we're doing some exciting things. We're going to do more exciting things based on some of the stuff that you just saw there, which was towards the end of 2019, I think. We are capable of producing this stuff when we've got a full team. We haven't quite got a full team yet, but it is building very nicely indeed. And we're getting some really first-class people involved to make sure that we bring you a good local television service. But it is not a parochial. We don't actually go looking for lost moggies and that sort of thing. We say that we are local, but not parochial. And we delve into all sorts of things around the world and send to the world that we think would be beneficial or of interest. Just a note about some of the people that you saw in there. Annie Verrill had a career ahead of her as a solicitor, as a lawyer, and she went off to pursue that dream. She managed to get through most of the first year and had 2 more years to go. But a very talented young lady and sorely missed here. She almost that was her also on the piano. So Annie is one of Lewis's success stories, except she's got 1 or 2 exams to pass, and that takes a lot of effort. And so she sadly withdrew. One of the features of our broadcasts in those days was that she and I would actually yell and scream and stamp our feet at one another. Right at the very beginning of each day's broadcast. And people wanted to know whether it was real. Did we really hate one another like with the passion, or did we turn out to be very good or bad actors, whichever you may see? And to this day, neither of us will reveal which it was. Very talented young lady. We also saw Stephen Catlin. Stephen had to sadly withdraw from helping us or being part of us while his time for mayor. But he does drop by now from time to time on a Friday. But he's also not in the best of health. And so we see him when we expect him. But that's what Mirador Television is all about now, is things happen when they happen. We don't stage them. We don't plan them. We tend to go with the flow, as they say. And that's why hopefully we will see Melissa this morning, but who knows what happens in New York to prevent her from joining us. Nonetheless, there we go. I speak with a mighty tongue, and who is there but? Aha! Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning, Keith. How are you?
Well, thank you. And we just showed a little collage of some of the programs we did prior to lockdown. And one of them was you at the opening of the Como Bridge.
Great. Thank you.
Now, people here wouldn't know because to them, it's another bridge across the... is it the River Hudson?
Yes, the Hudson River.
The Hudson River, right. There has been some Cuomo, the family, rather well known in the political world, but since that bridge was opened, there have been some developments with Cuomo, have there not, of a salacious nature?
Yes. I don't know if there's been anything lately. He's been rather quiet. But yeah, he apparently couldn't control himself with the ladies, and some ladies complained. A lot of ladies complained, and whether they're legitimate or not, lots of ladies came rushing in and complaining about his behavior. So he had to resign. So I haven't seen anything lately about her. I mean, about him. I haven't seen anything. He's been very quiet for obvious reasons.
Yes. Actually, it is interesting, isn't it? Going back many years to the 1960s, we had a scandal in this country in which the defense minister, a gentleman named Profumo, and who is married to a film star called Valerie Swanson, I think, and he was having an affair with a prostitute who was also having an affair with the Russian attaché, and he lied to Parliament about it, and eventually had to own up, and he was forced to resign. Since then, I mean, many years have passed under the bridge, or much water has, but he then set about redeeming himself by getting into charity work and good works, and he kept his head down, and he slowly worked his way back into public affection. And although he never reached the corridors of power the way that he had before, he achieved respectability. So, I mean, I don't know whether Cuomo is doing the same thing, keeping his head down, but it is amazing how public opinion can change.
Right. Yeah, you can redeem yourself in the public eye if you do enough good works, at least. Or, you know, if time passes, you know, time has a tendency to erase some memories, and certainly generations from now won't remember. So, yeah, but it's unfortunate because I thought his leadership was rather strong during COVID, but I think he probably stepped on some toes. He stepped on toes, powerful toes, and they took him down.
Yes. Actually, one of the interesting redemptions is today our headlines in the newspapers are full of the fact that the BBC has apologized for the documentary which exposed Diana and her vulnerability and fragility, and the fact that her marriage with Charles wasn't going at all well. And they have now, at long last, come out mainly because of a lawsuit from a lady with a lovely name of Tiggy Leg Burke, I think, who the BBC accused of having an affair with Charles and becoming pregnant. And she took them to court, and she has won what is now described as substantial damages. Yeah, but it is funny that Camilla now, who could easily be our next queen, at the time was vilified and could not do anything right in the public eye. And here now is crowds cheer her. She's worked her way back into respectability and so on. So it is amazing how if you can ride things out in the first instance, is you can win the day again.
Right. Are crowds really cheering her and Charles?
Muted. But in the recent services to be held, which were held at St. Paul's, the crowd did indeed give them rather more of a warm welcome than has been in the past. Harry got a few boos, but the stars, undoubtedly, now that the Queen is nearing the end of her reign, one way or the other, I'm sad to say, is Wills and his lady, the future king and queen after Charles, get the warmest reception of the lot, and he's really kept his nose clean.
That's good.
But it's funny how some of the things go around, just little snippets. Jane Watkins, who normally reports for us from Hastings, is in Scotland for a month, and she's teaching at a sort of a summer school university, which does all sorts of things apart from academia. It sends people to sea and so on. But this is being held at Gordonston. Does that ring a bell?
No, it doesn't. But do tell me more.
Okay, it's where actually Charles, as a boy, went to school.
Ah.
he didn't go to Eton or Harrow. They chose to send him to Gordonston, where the emphasis is on outdoor stuff. Being more of a hiker and a sailor than being a bookworm.
Ah. Is
So
that
you can't get away without references to something. Now, tell me this, Melissa, because let's get on to what filters through in the United States. Is this story about the BBC apologising only broke this morning, but of course there has been a huge scandal over this documentary by Martin Bashir, and it was picked apart to be shown to be much smoke and mirrors as any facts. Did that have any effect whatsoever in the States, or was it another ho-hum?
Probably another ho-hum. Although I would find it interesting, certainly. From a journalist's perspective, certainly, right? We're both journalists. It's concerning, seriously, that you'd make such an awful. Well, was it a mistake?
You mean did the BBC make a mistake in showing it?
No. Was it in fact? Was it true?
No. A lot of the stuff is now accepted as not being true. That there was a lot of stuff that was manufactured by this reporter Bashir, who really left. Well, I mean, it just shows how the establishment works. He left the BBC in disgrace, and then a few months later, there was a little piece in the media saying he was back working for the BBC.
Yeah, I guess as a journalist, as a former journalist, I'm confused as to why that even would be a possibility that he'd be allowed back.
Well,
and I guess my question is like, what did he base his story on? How do you get it so wrong? How do you get it so wrong?
Well, he didn't get it wrong. He started with what he wanted as the result. And then it was becoming known inside circles that the royal marriage was in trouble. That part was fact. But then he started with, gosh, I am going to demonstrate just how this has all happened, what they've done to Diana, and so on and so forth. And he manufactures evidence. And there is plenty of evidence of his manufacturing evidence, if you see what I mean, to make his story credible. And it was only in the later years when I think that when the boys grew up and wanted to vindicate their mother, because she took a lot of flack, of course, because she started to date a Muslim. Oh my goodness me! I mean, nowadays probably that isn't a big deal, but back then,
right.
10 years ago, it was, so she took a lot of flack as well, and that's when people began to really look at things very carefully and to say, "Hey, come on, some of this it looks a bit skimpy." The point really is, and the point that is made today is this man had a team around him from the BBC. Obviously, you don't go on and do a major story like that with just you. He had a team, and it seems that the team colluded as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe he was so powerful they didn't want to say anything.
That's actually. Doesn't that get into the question of how organizations buckle in the face of power? And it doesn't matter what the rights and wrongs are, suddenly the whole thing starts to go downhill.
Right.
Right. Okay, now I've had my little say and a little chat about that. Tell us what's going on in the United States. We had a lovely chat to Suzanne on Monday. In fact, we went 15 minutes over our time because we were having so much fun. But from your perspective, tell me about your past week, the things that you've got up to, and the things that you think we might find interesting.
Oh goodness, this week. Now you want to, from a news perspective?
Personal perspective. we're interested
I
in
think
you
a
as well.
personal perspective might be a little bit. I mean, it's all about here in terms of the news. It's all about what happened on January 6th, the insurrection, and they have the hearings going on. So that's big. There's not a whole lot that was very out there in terms of news. So I may be missing something huge. There are the shootings, and it's always the US thing, either Trump or shootings. So yeah.
Well, I think anytime you mention Trump here, you've got a willing audience. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people who never even thought about it rub their hands with glee at the fact that somebody like Trump can actually find his comeuppance.
Right, exactly. Yeah, he's being it's tough hearings for him because it just showed that he was all in on the insurrection. He wasn't an innocent bystander, and all of a sudden the crowd went out of control.
Yeah,
he was spurring them on, and he was all for it. He wanted to go to the Capitol and lead the charge, and absolutely outrageous for a U.S. president. I mean, seriously, it was crazy. But anyway.
News actually moves on, and you're quite right. These people don't remember.
Yes.
So I wonder if you could just give us a little recap about that insurrection. What exactly happened?
Oh, gee. Well, it was January 6th, and Mr. Trump was not accepting the fact that he lost the election. And so he had gathered a group of people through social media and other groups that were supportive of him, and they staged a rally fairly close to the Capitol. And then at one point, he was telling them to fight, fight. This is a fight. And so they got very riled up. The crowd got, at least some in the crowd got riled up and marched to the Capitol building, which is where our Congress legislative branch is housed, and basically broke past the barriers. One of the police officers died. He was hit by a fire extinguisher by one in the crowd. Some of members of the crowd had guns. And they basically broke in. They were smashing the windows to try to get in. One of the they call it a rioter, one of the protesters was shot in the process by a Capitol police officer because she was trying to climb in through the windows of the doors. They were shouting that they wanted to hang the vice president, Mike Pence. They were going after the House Majority Leader Nancy Pelosi. They wanted to find her. They wanted to find anyone that was against Trump. It was scary, and they basically invaded the chambers of Congress.
Right.
And a lot of them were arrested and put in jail. And now we're having hearings about exactly what did Trump know, what was his role, because he was whisked away by Secret Service at the time, and he, was in his offices. But apparently he wanted to march to the Capitol and spur them on, and didn't mind that they were saying hang his vice president. It was just outrageous that a president would try to. And then apparently there were calls for military intervention. Our military is not supposed to be ever controlled by our president. I mean, that's against our Constitution. It's civilian controlled. And that's the whole point, is that it's not a dictatorship. And I don't think they're not understanding that. They were taken in by the fact this man could not admit that he lost. That was really all it was, folks. He couldn't admit that he lost because he never loses. He's never been allowed to lose. So,
did any of those protesters or rioters come before the courts?
Yes, they did, and several of them are in jail. They're serving sentences. So that's what the hearing is all about right now, is what was the president's role.
So the due process of law took place, and now this inquiry is into what, the reasons for it, or whether it was legitimate, or
Basically, what was Trump's role in it? What was the president's role? Basically, he wanted to seize power away from the voters. Made a decision, whether you like the decision or not. It's still, they made the decision. You want to call it, there's no fraud. Even the Republican officials in those states in question, they did a couple of recounts of the votes. There is nothing that would have overturned that election. I'm sorry, Mr. Trump's response to the COVID crisis was ridiculous. You're so lucky you had the leadership of Boris Johnson. We had a president suggesting we drink bleach, don't wear masks, take your masks off. Oh, it's a Democratic hoax. A Democratic hoax. We had people dying in front of hospitals. We had, refrigerator trucks with people who died. I mean, it was a Democratic hoax. Seriously? Anyway, you can get me started on it. I would love to speak about nice things.
I'm glad to see the passion, because the next question I'm going to ask you is, as an American, did you ever believe that such a situation could arise in the United States?
Absolutely never. Never thought that was. Although, he really got people riled up. He really got people upset. And they really supported him. And some of them are in jail, and he's out playing golf in Florida now. It's outrageous. It's really outrageous. And they just believed anything he had to say. They just wanted to believe in something. And I feel bad for a lot of them. They're just so misled. And it's so wrong that just because a man could not admit that he lost something, couldn't admit he lost an election, there are people in jail who are supporting him.
Yes. And once again, it demonstrates how the powerful can avoid ultimate penalties.
Well, let's see if he does. I don't know. We'll see how things go.
Actually, I'm glad you gave that succinct answer, because what are the results of these hearings? What is the consequence?
I'm not quite sure what the consequence could be, whether he would be charged, because he's no longer president. Or certainly it would, at the very least, would hurt his reelection bid. If something were to come out that was, there was some very, very, damaging testimony, certainly. But it would certainly hurt his reelection bid. There's some who still support him, believe it or not, after all the hijinks and nonsense that went on. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Just absurd. I don't belong to any political party. I don't believe anyone has the moral high ground either side. So, but he was just not the Republican choice that I would choose. So anyway,
very interesting. Your comment about the armed forces. I'm not sure whether the people in the United States would even worry about it, but do you know who is the head of our armed forces?
No, do tell.
The Queen.
The Queen. Yeah. Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I was thinking of I was thinking of your I was thinking in terms of like a defense secretary or something of that nature.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The defense secretary can set policy, but is not head of the armed forces. And actually, in a constitutional monarchy, it's quite interesting once you actually delve into a constitutional monarchy, because the division of power means that much like your own situation, which came under strain but nonetheless didn't give in, it's almost impossible for an armed insurrection in the United Kingdom. We can't be overthrown. The government can't be overthrown because it's got different levels of responsibility in different parts of the government.
Well, that's what we expected here as well. But if you have an armed mob, storming Parliament, wanting to hang, it's just outrageous. I just can't even believe something like that would have happened.
Yes.
I'm sorry, folks. He lost. Okay,
Well, I
you
mean,
heard it first. You heard
have,
it first on Mirador.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you have a card that you keep in front of you saying "calm," in case I get
Remain
you riled up
calm.
enough. But to be quite
Yeah,
honest with
I
you,
don't have it right now, which is why I'm not calm. But wait, hang on. I'm trying to adjust my little camera here. I think I might need a tripod and not the base of an antique lamp.
well,
Um,
I just had something leaning up against a coffee pot, and I knocked the coffee pot, so I had absolute disaster. Everything all over the place for a little while. Such is modern television.
See here, look, I have my coffee mug from the Royal Air
Oh,
Force
emergency
Museum.
coffee, right?
Royal
Absolutely.
Air Force Museum.
Aha. Oh, you got that from the museum here?
Yes.
Where is that, Duckworth?
Yes. Yes. That was
Yeah.
it was so much fun. Sadly, there was really hardly anyone there, or perhaps it was just that it was during the week. But my son and I just had so much fun. Oh, he knew
Well,
everything. He knew
let's turn,
everything in detail about every one of those British planes.
right. But let's turn to your son for a moment, because the reason that probably that you went to Duckworth with him is he is going to be a flyer, is he not?
Yes, in the U.S. Navy. He is his application is in, and his scores were some of the highest that the recruiter has ever seen. And so his future's looking bright. They'll make a decision as to when he's going to ship, or they call when basically start officer training, and they'll make that decision in November. So we'll see what happens. We'll see when he's going to be shipped out.
Right.
So,
well, that's very
yeah.
encouraging, and congratulations, because he's a very decent young man.
Yes.
And one of his qualities is that he tries very hard to make beer. And we've actually got some recipe questions in front of Harvey's Brewery here at the moment on his behalf,
Yes.
waiting for
Yes.
a reply.
Yes.
But he also joined you for a series on Mirador, the Contessa and the. Can you remember the Contessa and
Connor and the Contessa?
Connor and the Contessa, and it was absolutely hilarious because Melissa was the Contessa, and Connor is with
I'm
his
not
agent
sure how
in
that
the
happened,
kitchen,
but
was bossing her around.
yeah, I was the cleanup crew.
We just, as I said, we just showed some of the things that we did just before lockdown in a collage, and that was a very popular program. You had more fun in your kitchen, and I remember that you made a Hungarian goulash.
Actually, it was German.
It was German goulash
or Austrian, and then there was Bachelor. I don't know. I'm obviously not pronouncing that correctly. It's I don't speak German, but right now it's hard to speak English. I haven't had enough coffee. But so yeah, we had some really, really fun times. I'm telling you, and on camera. And actually, this week is his birthday. It's on Saturday, so he's been making a series of dishes. He's making eggplant parmesan today. Very good. He made rum. I can't even speak. I'm still feeling the effects of the rum raisin ice cream.
Wow!
It was so good. And I'm just, it's during my workday. I'm working from home this week, and I'm just really enjoying that ice cream, not realizing how boozy it was.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Now, I hope
I
you're
was
taking
really
some
nice to my
photographs
colleagues
of it.
this week.
Yeah. Melissa, I hope you're taking some photographs of his efforts. I mean, even if you don't take video, take some photographs, because Connor comes onto our conscious from time to time. And strangely enough, I didn't have time to pause on it, but I came across a little clip when he did his first solo flight. And you were watching him do his first solo flight, I think in a Cessna, was it? Yes.
Yeah, actually, it was in a Diamond, which is what they use to train Air Force pilots here.
Ah,
The
right.
initial training. They're small and they're very much their gliders are very easy to glide. So the Cessna's a bit clumpier. But yeah, that was amazing. That truly was amazing. It was scary, but I knew he was a good pilot. So, but you still always get nervous, right, as a mother.
Yeah, absolutely. So he's going to join the Navy. You know, you still have, do you not, the three divisions? You don't have armed forces. You have the Navy, the Air Force, and the Army.
We have the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, and we have the Marines, which is under the Navy. We have Coast Guard, which takes on more of a civilian role unless it's during wartime, and then it's under the Navy. And then
Right.
there's the merchant marine as well, which handles shipping.
Right. And he's going to join the Navy.
Correct.
And
That
do
is
they call it a
correct.
fleet air arm or something of that sort?
They call it, squadrons. He'll be in a squadron. He's looking to go into what they call strike squadron, which he would be flying the Super Hornet, the F-18, and that's the fighter jets.
All right.
And so he's also looking to maybe be stationed either in Japan or in the Atlantic Fleet, the Pacific Fleet or the Atlantic Fleet.
Right.
So
he could actually sort of be involved in the Ukraine war.
it's very possible he would be fighting against Russia or China if they foolishly decide to invade Taiwan.
Right now that's something else, because we get so introverted about the things that affect just us. I think we've totally lost sight of what's happening with China, and the mere fact that you now say, well, it could be China. What is the situation with the Chinese and Taiwan?
I think they're patiently watching what's happening with Russia and the Ukraine, and probably scratching their heads as to why we're not really doing much. I mean, we are supplying them. There are civilians who are starting to see U.S. planes. I believe maybe it was whether it's some F-15, some of the older aircraft we've sent over there. And so they're no longer flying the Soviet planes. They're flying U.S. planes now. But China's patiently waiting to see what's going on, to see what the United States would do, to see what Europe would do. So right now they're probably very excited because we're not doing much. I don't quite understand what's going on with the EU. Somebody explain to me what's happening with the EU now, being Russia warning them about the gas supplies. Now Russia's controlling the EU, and the EU just rolled over and allowed it to happen. I'm not understanding the whole thing.
Yeah.
Please, somebody explain it to me. Why they thought it was a good idea to buy gas from the devil and thought it was going to all work out.
Yeah. Well, of course, the thing is that, and I'll be crucified for this. I mean, I'll walk out of the White Hart Hotel after this program, and somebody will grab me by the throat and say, how dare you speak against the European Union? But the fact of the matter is, the sort of result that you're seeing is exactly why many people believe that Britain should leave the EU. That it was a concentration of power in Brussels, and with leaving toothless its constituent parts. Exactly the opposite to the United States. So as a consequence, it doesn't have any really great foreign policy as such. So it faffs around. It listens to the Germans will say you can't do that because that's against us, and the French will say but hang on, that's in our benefit, and nothing ever comes to fruition. So as I say, I'll be absolutely slaughtered by those pro EU people, but I don't care. But my view is not necessarily the popular view. There are still people who think. And they live and they die by the European Union, which I believe is a busted flush, and that's what you're saying is the view from America.
I just can't. I can't imagine. And what we didn't think that was going to happen. We didn't think that. Well, see, we Germany decided to make this deal with Russia to get cheap gas because they wanted to close their nuclear plants. And now we're running in. Of course, let's be honest. The EU is still supporting Russia because they're paying them.
Yeah.
They're still supporting Russia. Sorry, guys out there who are going to choke Keith. They're supporting Russia. And now Russia's like, maybe we'll just slow down your supply. Seriously? You guys need an alternative guy. You need an alternative energy source. Sorry. And you better find one very quickly.
Yeah. But I have a theory, which is more and more being supported, I think, is that we have a generation in charge that don't understand what leadership is. For some reason, they look at any given problem and find all sorts of reasons as to why they shouldn't do something rather than they should. And I suppose really this is why Boris has departed, is people don't like leadership. They don't want people to be firm and to take a role. Now, once again, I'm getting into murky waters. I don't care, really. We don't have a political stance on this television station. So we can say more or less what we want and express our opinions. But I think you're absolutely right that we've got a problem. I put it down to the fact is that we just don't have leadership. And that any people who've shown leadership in the past have gone.
Let me this is a little section from Reuters. Just have this hit home, folks. Europe is racing to fill its gas shortage ahead of winter and to build a buffer in case Moscow further restricts supplies in retaliation for European support for Ukraine following Russia's invasion. So the EU can't do anything because they are beholden. They're being supported by Russia, and Russia's going to say, nope, we're gonna cut your gas supply.
Yeah.
What kind of leadership is we're going to turn off your spigots if you keep supporting Ukraine?
Yes, absolutely. You've got it in one.
What? And that the EU would allow something like that to happen. You're basically allowing Russia to come in and take over and do anything it wants to do. What? Now they're setting out emergency plans for countries to cut their gas usage by 15% until March of next year. Warning that without any deep cuts now, they're going to struggle for fuel during winter if Russia cuts off its supply. Why would you be ever dependent on the devil? Why would you make a deal with Vladimir Putin and think it was going to be okay?
Yes, exactly.
Former KGB, are you serious? Are you serious? I'm just
not only former
and
KGB,
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Here's the thing. It's cowardice. Let's be plain and simple. EU, you're a bunch of cowards. That's what you are. You're a bunch of opportunistic cowards. You saw, oh look, cheap gas. We'll go over there. And you're not gonna stand up for anything, are you? Not gonna stand up for what's right.
Leave your calm card at home more often.
Oh, I didn't take it out. That's the problem. It's absolutely outrageous. They're gonna let Russia just come in and do anything they want. How about we have Russia take over Germany? Hey, how about we have Russia take over France? Yay! Not Italy. I'm going to Italy next month. Wait till after I come back. And then you're going to expect Britain and the United States to bail you out. As we always do.
With our present leadership contenders, I'm beginning to think that we may not have people here who would be prepared to bail out.
Yeah, it sounds like we're going to have to bail you out too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm fond of quoting, and it's not an exact quote, but Mikhail Gorbachev is quoted as saying words to this effect: "It is a matter of complete political puzzlement to him as to why European politicians are rushing as fast as they are to recreate the old Soviet Union.
I don't understand. I don't understand. That's exactly what they're doing, because that's what Putin has wanted to do. That's what Putin has wanted to do. My son even wrote his senior college thesis on that. You could have consulted Connor before you did all that nonsense. This is obvious. It's obvious in Putin's speeches what he was going to do. It's obvious. What, you weren't listening to him? His speeches in front of the United Nations? Really? Where were you, sleeping or drinking? What were you doing? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I just, it's outrageous. It's just absolutely outrageous. And like I said, we're just going to have to come in and bail you out.
Again.
Anyway, you want to talk about something nice, Keith?
All right. Yes. Well, I mean, I think that you know, the soul of America is something that we do not understand totally in this country at any level. And what I think you've just done is,
we have a soul
in a very passionate outburst, is given us the soul of America and your view on things, which is as legitimate as any other. But let us. We've talked a little bit about Connor, and I think that perhaps next week we'll talk a little bit more about him, because events move forward both in his food, his booze, but also in his career. It's interesting because we know Connor to know what's happening to him, but also he is representative of young Americans. You know, I sometimes think that we don't even know what's happening to young Brits, let alone young Americans. And it's important.
I don't know that he's representative of young Americans, because I think there is this. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I would like to see more young Americans come out, you know, fighting. And I think there is some fight in this generation. It just depends on what you're fighting for. There's not a lot of American young people of Connor's age who want to join the military. There just isn't. They'll fight for things like, you know, abortion rights or gay rights, or you know, some might come out for climate change, you know, things of that nature. But I don't know. I don't know where the soul is going. Hopefully, but I think there's a fight. At least there is a fight. It's not like the previous generation. They're so laden down with debt, the millennials here, that it's very hard to have any fight whatsoever in you. So I completely understand that. But anyway, the soul of America, I don't know where it's a mess. It's all over the place.
All right, let's go to lighter things then. Now tell us some of the things that you've done this week, what food you've eaten, what restaurants you've been to, what have you done with your family and your friends?
Okay, I'm going to tell you this. My son is asleep, so I can tell you, but I'm going to tell you very quietly, everyone. I'm having a surprise birthday party for Connor on Saturday. Don't tell anyone. He doesn't quite take well to surprises initially, but I think he'll like this one.
That's good.
Because we have a lot of, we have his cousin, Billy, who's my age. It's my cousin. So Connor's second cousin. And they are so funny together. They're always drinking and being silly, and I love it. So
and is Uncle Bill going to be there?
Well, it's actually Cousin Bill, but yes, he'll be there. We're so excited, and he's so funny with Connor. Oh, Connor doesn't mean to be funny, but really, because he's so straight, and then and doesn't want to hug anybody, and then Billy's a big hugging Italian guy. It's so funny to watch them. So that's going to take place Saturday, and I've got some really fun. I have some fun gifts for him. He's going to enjoy them.
Now, what happens at an American birthday party? What do you do?
Well, in a surprise party, you know, obviously we say surprise. We just do a lot of eating and drinking and gifts and cake and balloons and drinking. So it's just going to be a lot of fun, very funny. My problem is, how do I get him there without ruining the surprise?
Tie him to the bed or something.
Yeah, I picked him. I picked a restaurant that was kind of central to everybody, but not one that we frequent. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do on Saturday. Hey, let's go to Rick's.
Yeah, you'll
What?
have to leave your purse at home and then ask him if he'll deliver it to the restaurant.
Something I'm going to have to come up with something. Because he'll know
Right.
something's
Now,
up.
you say that you're working from home, and in fact, you work in the financial services industry in the United States. How is that? Is it buoyant or is it being depressed? What's happening on the commercial front?
Well, I mean, the markets are struggling. There's been some comeback, but the markets have taken quite a hit. And it's going to be some time because we're looking at a possible recession. We're looking at higher interest rates. Our Federal Reserve is going to be raising rates by maybe 75 basis points. So to try to quell inflation, because everybody's out of control, buying. So of course, inflation's going up. Hello,
Yeah.
supply and demand. Yeah, the markets they've taken a hit. They've lost quite a lot of. I kind of feel a little pain when I have to say things like that because I'm like, oh man, this hurts. But yeah, so it's a tough. There's a lot of client hand holding right now because our clients are very high net worth. And hang on just one second. I'm going to plug in because I don't want to lose you on my power. Hang on a moment there, Keith. Okay. I think I need a slightly better operation here. Okay, hang on.
Listen, for
There
what
we
we're
go.
doing, we're doing all right with very limited amenities.
So yeah, I'm holding the phone now. So it's just the way my phone charges from the bottom. But anyway, yeah, so that's a lot of what we're doing. Well, I'm the keeper of all the corporate records, so
Right.
so
So there's
they
a
don't
lot
want to
of
get rid of
nervousness amongst investors. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, yes. But listen, if you're wealthy, you're going to make a comeback. That's just how wealthy people are.
Yeah.
If you've never come into money, then yeah, you're going to be scared that you lost $100,000 in your 401k. But if you look historically, especially if you are invested in the U.S. economy, you'll know that yeah, there are definitely ups and downs, and some of the downs can be severe, but the general trajectory is upwards. So yeah, it's just a lot of don't worry, it's going to be okay. Give it a year. I mean, I feel sorry if you're retiring now and depending on that money, but if you're not really dependent on the money and you just want to watch it grow, just leave it. It's invested in the U.S. economy. Just leave it. It'll grow. It'll come back. It always does. I mean, look what happened in 2007. In 2007, you had Microsoft, the stock, it's in single digits. You had Apple at what, 75? What is it, 300 now? I don't even know what my charts are. I haven't seen them in a while. I don't invest in single stocks unless I have money to play with and burn. But I prefer mutual funds. Well, that's my company's a mutual fund company. But anyway, I'm not plugging my company. I'm not saying who I'm working for.
Oh, plug it.
Franklin Templeton Investments. They have some good funds.
Right. We didn't say that. We didn't say Franklin Templeton Investments.
Nope. We do have an office in London, by the way. So.
Or its office in London. We haven't mentioned that. No.
No.
But Melissa, it's funny, but markets and economics and so on escape the average man. Now, the British economy switched from manufacturing and went through various phases, so that really we are very, very strong in service industries now. What is the driver of the American economy?
The service industry and the banks.
Right. Services and finance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're a service industry too. We've sent all of our manufacturing overseas. I don't know why. We did that because we wanted cheap T-shirts from Walmart. Okay, got me started on another one. I don't have my remain calm sign. So.
I mean, you understand why I like having these conversations, simply because I can go out, I can go to the pub, and I can talk to very, very intelligent people. But their awareness factor of what's happening in the United States and the things that affect us would be very, very limited, to say the least. Unless we have these sort of conversations where you're on the ground there and I'm on the ground here, is these things don't come out. I am. You may sit there and think, why the hell is he asking me this? Everybody knows that, but everybody doesn't. It gives us a very, very good picture of what's happening. I mean, not least of which is, I think that if you spoke to people here about China, is they would say, oh, yeah, well, they manufacture everything cheaply, don't they? Everything is made in China. Is any sort of military threat is way off their radar at the moment.
I think that, well, listen, they are vulnerable as well. I mean, they're vulnerable economically as well. If we're supporting them with manufacturing, they certainly don't want us to stop. They don't want their population or their populace to rise up. So, they have to be cautious as well. But I think a lot of the manufacturing, though, is moving from China because China is becoming more and more middle class now. And so the labor is going to be more and more expensive. And so are the goods. So you're looking at other parts of Asia that are supplying a lot of our goods, certainly our textile industry, our clothing retail industry. You can't find anything made in the United States except T-shirts or socks. I'm like, how many of those do I need?
Yes.
I don't even wear socks. I wear the little pads.
I think one of the interesting indicators I found is a few years ago when I was talking to somebody from China, I said, the official policy has been to go from bicycles to mopeds and motorbikes and even motor cars. And how would you feel if you had to go back because of official policy to bicycles? And he said quite bluntly, we wouldn't let it happen. And that's the first time I really got a sense of people power in China. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what's happening is that the more wealth that they start to accumulate as they're working and working and working, they become more and more middle class. And they're not going to go back. And so China, the leadership has to be very careful. They want to stay in power, no? So anyway, so that's their vulnerability. So their success. Sometimes you have to be careful when you're successful. So, we'll just send our manufacturing to Vietnam or Bangladesh. That's a big one. Where else? Indonesia. So some of those other countries. But at some point we have to say, listen, the cheap goods, they're not worth it. They come at a human cost. And so you want your $5 t-shirts from Walmart, but they're junk. Guys, we have to stop buying so much junk. It's like, I guess buying stuff makes us feel less miserable. There has to be something else we can do that would make us less miserable. Listen, I'm just as guilty of it.
I think that you're a voice in the wilderness on that. Everybody rushes like lemmings to get in on a great deal.
I'm not going to say I'm not immune to that. I have my fair share of retail therapy when I'm not feeling good, and I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, because it's not.
Well, I can't say that it's because of my worry about the economy, but I get most of my stuff off eBay. And because I am sold on sort of the 1970s and 1980s, I buy a lot of tweeds and so on. So I don't buy anything new. It all comes off eBay. And anybody, well, as you know, having walked with me down Lewis High Street, anybody can pick me out because I'm the only one wearing tweeds when the temperature is 40 degrees.
It's very hot here, by the way. I know it's cooled down in the UK.
It has today, but apparently we're going to have another dose of hot weather next week.
This week we're in the high 30s this week. well, 90s if you're a Fahrenheit person.
Yes.
I'm dying here. I'm like, oh my God.
Actually, there was a nice little side story in one of the papers that the zoos have had problems about how do they get various animals to drink enough water so they don't dehydrate. And apparently, the solution is that they've sort of taken an orange squash type liquid and splashed it over ice cubes, and they give great trunkfuls of ice cubes to all the animals who apparently love it. They just revel in it and gobble up the ice cubes and don't suffer dehydration. So there you are.
Yeah, that's what they did to the American public, a big dose of sugar. Yay. That's why we're all fat. Okay. You know what you could do with the animals? Put them back into where they belong. Yay! Then they'll find the water.
Yeah. I mean, I'm split on that. Having animals in captivity is dreadful, but there is also the question of very good examples of where a species would have died out if it hadn't have been for sort of humans making sure that they were secure enough to reboot them, as it were.
Yeah, that's often it's often a fool's goal because it ends up they still end up becoming extinct. But I don't mind sanctuaries. I don't. It's just zoos so we can go and look at them. Hey, look at the lion. You want to go see a lion? Go to Africa. Okay, do a safari. There you go.
What a lovely idea.
Yeah, wouldn't that be lovely? But honestly, I don't think I've ever come face to face. Well, I might have come face to face with a lion back when I was a kid, but I just don't have any interest in it. They don't live here. I'm not going to live in a place where they live. Certainly.
Well, strangely enough, of course, I've spent some considerable time in Africa, in Nigeria. And as a consequence, made some friends in West African countries like Kenya. And in the hinterland, out of the cities, in two instances, I met the son of the chief. And they both had the same tale, that they are sent out as they come out of sort of puberty into young adulthood, with a spear to go and catch a lion, and that is their trial of becoming a man. So these young men who actually would wear blazers and trousers and look quite normal. And in one case, he showed me the scars of the lion that actually almost got the better of him. So it's funny how these things are used still in some of these countries, because I think
you want to be a man. Go get a job and support your family. Now you're a man. Thank you. Okay, we don't care whether you kill a lion. That's why don't you? Hey, why don't you want to be a man? Kill him with your bare hands. There you go.
Listen,
now you're a man.
I'll tell you what. You're beautiful. So this chap is a 7-foot Maasai warrior with a spear in his hand. You tell him.
I will tell him. I'm Italian American princess. Any other questions?
Right, Melissa, it is 8 minutes past 11. You're working from home today, are you?
I am, yes.
Right. Well, we call it quits at 11:15, so we've got one or two little things to tidy up.
Where's Max today? Where's Max today? Where's Max?
Max asked if he could work yesterday and not today. And he's a very concerned young man. He's a lovely man for family. And apparently one of his little sisters, it's her birthday. And he wanted to make sure that she had a very nice birthday party. So you see, the two of you have something in common. And of course, I'm very flexible, as you know. I don't ask people to be dogmatic. It suited us. I do miss him actually. He was on yesterday. He's actually good fun to have around. But
Yes,
one
absolutely.
day you must actually watch the program between when he hosts it and Stuart Dolby actually joins him. And
Oh,
the
what? No,
two of
what
them
day is
are
it?
chalk
What
and
day is
cheese.
that?
And they Wednesdays, every Wednesday, and they
Okay,
fight
okay.
like cat and dog. And as Max says, it's terribly funny. He said, because here I am, I'm the young man of 18, and I'm ultra right conservative, and here's Stuart, a man of 70 something, who is verging on liberal Labour. You know, and they are hilarious together. They absolutely really are. It's very good
Oh,
television.
well, I'll definitely be tuning in for that. That's fun. That's great. You know what I would like is all of us together.
To
Max
what,
and
sorry?
Stuart. Yeah, Max and Stuart, you, me, even Suzanne, have everybody come in.
Well, why don't we actually? I mean, we know we can do that. So why don't we actually plan that? I'll make a note of
Okay.
that mentally, and perhaps what we're going to do is to take a 2-week break from something like the 9th of August to the 19th or something of the sort. So either prior to that or immediately after, what we'll do is we'll arrange a day that we're all available, and we'll have a round table the way that we used
Oh,
to,
that sounds.
and that would
Oh,
be
that
rather
sounds
good
great.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that
might
sounds
even
like fun.
get young Stephen Catlin in on it.
Yes, young Stephen. I miss young Stephen.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's a bit poorly at the moment, I think.
Mhm.
You know, he's had his fights with the NHS, and I mean, he handles his illnesses very well, but the fights with the authorities and the establishment, they really do wear him out, and he gets very frustrated about it. Because as a mayor, he's been a first-class mayor. He really has been a
Absolutely.
superb mayor. You know, he would say to me, "Oh, Keith, I don't know what about this." I said, "Stephen, being the mayor is not about policies and so on. It's about leadership, and he's shown leadership in the year that he was mayor, and very good
Yes.
leadership. And the town started to come alive again. And I'm really very grateful to him and very proud of him. But the mere fact that he's a part of us and shares some of his views with us is, you know, something for us to be grateful for, I think.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Well, I look forward to speaking with him soon.
Absolutely.
So,
All right. Now, our regards to Connor. All right. And we want him to put a secret camera in his pocket the first time that he actually takes off in a jet. In the meantime, we'll be happy to see pictures of all the food that he's making this week. And also, we look forward to you bringing over the beer in December so it can be tested by an expert.
oh, by the way, if he ships out in January, he'll be coming to the UK for Christmas week.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Heavens. Well, we better make sure that he's looked after.
Yes. Yes. So just and he would really love to maybe if Miles needs any heavy lifting done, would love to, Connor would certainly not mind helping out at Harvey's. Just wanted to I wanted to throw that out there for that week.
Yes, I will actually. I'm going to go down and see Miles. He's, he's High Sheriff and so on and so forth. He's so heavy into the political scene, but I am going to make sure that I get to see him for a few minutes so I can discuss Connor's brew and so on. And I will actually mention that he would like a job in. The moment you know exactly the dates, let me know because they presumably brewers go in cycles, and he would want to make sure that they were actually brewing in that particular time.
Right, exactly.
If not, we'll get him with a broom and sweep up.
There you go. Even something like that. He would just love to be a part of that whole atmosphere.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, leave that with me. Let me know. Send me an email, and I will actually see Miles Jenner, and I'll say, right, Miles, whether you like it or not, you're getting yourself involved with Mirador Television, and here's some of the things that you've got to do.
And he just think he can have a future Navy a jet pilot, a fighter pilot, sweeping his floors.
Absolutely.
I mean, how cool is that?
That's a story worth telling.
Yes.
Bye, darling. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Some of the ideas that we've talked about this morning, I shall take on board.
Very good. Talk to you later, Keith. Bye, everybody.
Bye. There we are, Melissa Conti in New York, and it's now 14 minutes past 11. Some interesting issues that came out that I think that most of us wouldn't consider in terms of how Americans think and what their view is of some of the things that we're taking part. Because let's face it, one of the things that we've done in the last couple of months or so is we have gazed at our navels, and starting with an iced Christmas cake and going through a packet of crisps and a half bottle of champagne, and we have lost track of what's happening in the world and what's happening with us as a nation. So I'm pleased that Melissa raised some of these issues. Whether you agree or not is quite beside the point. We don't mind if you don't agree with us, as long as you actually get involved in the debate. I'm just seeing now if we can find something to just see us out. Let's see what we've got in the desktop. Daily programs. What do we got here? I know what we'll do. We will take a look at Lewis from the skies. I think we will. Yes. And here's an overview, a flyover, Lewis, and I trying to identify. There is the brewery that we just talked about with Melissa, Harvey's Brewery, on the banks of the River Ouse, and sweeping away and starting to look up the High Street, I think, comes next. Yes, there it is. It's an area called School Hill. Lewis is full of hills, and so you find you're either going uphill or downhill almost all the time. And this goes up towards the center of the town and towards the castle. And there is the top of School Hill. Now the camera has switched and it's coming down School Hill to what's known as the precinct, which is, to all intents and purposes, the town square, and then the start of the South Downs in the distance. And that white scar is where there was an avalanche at the end of the 1800s, which killed a number of people. In fact, it's the only full avalanche that Britain ever suffered. There we go, up the hill again, up School Hill, this time at a lower level. And you can see the architecture, much of it Regency and Queen Anne, the town hall, and again, a good look at the castle, which sits on a hill, or a mott, as it's known, or a motter. There's Harvey's again, and we're looking over towards the area known as Cliff, which is both residential and retail. And the changing face of Lewis, there are some buildings there that are coming up that were never there before. But once again, the start of the Downs, and many people come up that hill and start a long march across very sparse territory, all you meet is a sheep. Okay, I think that that is the end of that. And what we'll do is we'll go back to me. And we will remove our aerial thing, make sure it doesn't spoil what we've got to do and what we've got to say. It's 11:19. So I am, oh gosh, it wasn't supposed to happen. Hey, there we go. I thought that I'd removed it, and I obviously haven't. So there we are, removed from the studio, and we are back to square one, where we began at 8:30 this morning, and what a rollicking morning we've had. A great debate, great insights from the United States. We've looked at some of this material, the programs that we did in the past. We've looked at old favorites, Annie Verrill and Stephen Catlin, and other people who have gone on to do either better or greater or different things. I'm not sure that there's anything better or greater than working for Mirador Television, but there you are, all to our own biases and preferences. So join us again on Monday, and just for your information, we hope to bring you the raft race on the 31st live. We hope then to go into the precinct and broadcast live from a little restaurant or bakery called the Bakeout, which we did last year, which was very successful, which will take us out of the White Hart for a little while, but then back again for a week before we take a 2-week break. We are small enough to not be able to keep on unless we want to work 52 weeks of the year, which we are in great danger of doing because we work almost 7 days a week and quite often 14 or 15 hours a day. So there comes a time when you have to say enough is enough, and I want me glass of wine. And that's what I'm saying at the moment. I want me glass of wine. So I'm going off to have my glass of wine. The beautiful Shannon is around somewhere, and she will actually find it for me. So watch out next Monday. If you're in the White Hart, watch out for Shannon, Jane, and Sally, the beautiful trio that greet you and look after you when you're in the hotel. And as for us, we're here every morning. And if you want to pop in as you come into the hotel and say hello and make a contribution on the air, we are more than willing to let you do that and welcome you with open arms. Righto. I think what we do now is we find our little closing thing, if we can, and not quite sure where it is, but we'll have a look to see if we can find it, and then we can play ourselves out. I can never find these things. I can never, ever find these things. It is one of the banes of my life that this sort of thing does not hold me in good stead. I'm a complete and utter idiot when it comes to these sort of things. But guess what? I found it. And here we are. We're going to add it to the stream. Open it, and we'll just let it run. Toodle pip. Bye-bye.